The 16th annual Female Eye Film Festival is coming up from June 26th to July 1st. It showcases high-caliber, thought-provoking independent films directed by women. And joining us now is filmmaker and festival founder and executive director Leslie Ann Coles. Welcome back to What She Said.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So your beloved tagline, always honest, not always pretty, has never seemed more fitting given all the unsavory industry revelations of the past year.
True.
So tell us about 16 years. It's a big accomplishment.
It is. We're still standing, so that's a good thing. We faced some challenges. We had a funny situation this year where we had a venue lockdown. Mm-hmm. We moved our dates to the last week in June, and then we lost the venue due to a fire.
Oh, no.
So last week we were literally scrambling to find an alternate venue, which we did, the Carlton.
Oh, the Carlton Cinemas. Well, that's not a bad little venue to have.
No, we're really excited. They're very supportive of independence and independent filmmakers and festivals, so we're really happy to be there. We'll be at TIFF Bell Lightbox next year, though.
That sounds amazing. But for people, let's go back just a minute. For people who think you were pretty, ahead of your time, what made you want to start this?
Well, I was, I'm a filmmaker as well, and I was hitting the festival circuit with my debut film, and it screened in about 35 festivals, won about 13 international awards, and I was seeing other women directors, but we were clearly a minority at these international film festivals. There would be maybe 5 of us to 30 male directors. So this is back in 2001, so it raised a question for me, and the question was, are there so few women directors, or are there films not getting programmed? And so that's sort of what begat the initial what is now the Female Eye Film Festival. It really wasn't intended in my mind to be an annual event. It was supposed to be a one-time kind of deal. The Female Eye, we showed films directed by women over the course of a weekend at the Bloor Cinema, which is now the home of Hot Docs, and sort of here we are 16 years later. Now we're 6-day International Competitive Women's Film Festival. Yeah.
So now, can you answer the question that you asked yourself way back then in 2001? Is it because they weren't showing women's films, or is it that there just weren't any budding women film directors?
I think there's a bunch of reasons for that. I think one, yes, they were not showing films directed by women. That could be because the festivals were predominantly at that time run by males, and I think there was a perception that if a woman wrote and directed a film, that it was a chick flick. It was a rom-com, or it was, intended for a femme-centric audience. I mean, we would never say that about a male director. We wouldn't say, Spielberg, his film is for men. It's just so we were struggling against that for a number of years. And I think the other issue was that we're talking about filmmaking being a very expensive endeavor back in the late 90s into the mid to 2000 up to 2005, and so there was the digital filmmaking, so it was very, very expensive. So it took a lot of initiative on the part of a filmmaker to make a film on film, and now we're seeing a plethora of films shot on digital, and so many are coming to the festival. I mean, we have 12 people watching films now.
Okay, let's talk about that, because you said it's Canada's one and only annual competitive International Independent Women Directors Film Festival. So exactly what do you mean by competitive? Is it juried to enter? Take us through the process.
Well, it's juried in that we have film programmers who watch films. We rate the films according to their overall production value, sound, picture, acting, story. And then I watch all of the films that have been pre-selected by my team who preview the films. I also preview about 150 films. And then we kind of cull that down. We mine those films for the best films that we can present at the festival. So that's part of the process. And then filmmakers can option to enter their films into competition. So we give these amazing awards that are hand-welded, one-of-a-kind, engraved. I mean, they're like a foot long. They're big. And Dawson Calvert handcrafts them. They're hand-welded awards. So we give awards for best films in about 16 different categories. And we also give screenplay awards. And I think what distinguishes the Female Eye from other women directors film festivals or women's film festivals is that we show films directed by women. So the woman has to be seated firmly in the director's chair. There's a lot of film festivals across our country, actually, that that show films that can be produced and written by a woman or written and starring a woman. But we know that it's usually the director in film anyway who holds the power, the creative power. So
what can people expect at this year's festival?
well, they're going to see some great films.
I knew that.
Yeah, we're really excited to be opening with Valerie Bahajar's film, It's Hard to Be Human. It's a great feature film.
That's the opening night gala?
Yeah, and we've shown Val's films since 2003. She's a local Toronto filmmaker. She's also an actress and a producer, and we have shown her early films. So it's really exciting to be showing her. I think this is her third feature. So we're really excited about that. And then we're closing with Snapchat. It's directed by Melanie Mayron, and it was written by Janice Caron, and that's out of LA. And then in between that, we have Roxy Sheback with Painkillers. Great late night film. She's a real comer in the industry in America as one of the top women directors. Yeah.
Do you even have time to make films anymore? Organizing this huge event?
I'm so glad you asked me that. Actually, the last time I was here, I was finishing a film.
Yes, you were.
Melody Makers, which then got optioned, or it was licensed by CBC.
Great.
So it was acquired by CBC. And over the last year, I've been touring festivals with it. So it had a screening in London a few times. It's won about 8 international awards for Best Documentary. And now I'm finishing another film called My Life, My Community, My Ontario, which is kind of my film, but it's the Female Eye film. So we received some money from the Status of Women in Canada that was disseminated through the Ontario Arts Council for organization and artists to create permanent works of art to address the issue of violence against women.
Wow.
Sexual violence against women. And so we received the Creative Artist Engagement Grant, and we went up to the Sioux, and we work with Indigenous and non-Native youth, 13 to 17 years of age, females, that went to White Pine Collegiate Vocational School, and we did a week-long workshop, integrated masks and movement and film and photography to create this, what turned out to be a documentary that I'm finishing right now that we're actually going to present at the Female Eye as part of an Indigenous filmmaker program.
I was just thinking that because dance is in your background too. So that's that was a very nice segue for you then to be able to involve that, because you transitioned to film in late 90s?
1999, 2000, I moved from the stage and from dance and choreography into filmmaking, actually. So, yeah, it's a great marriage between my dance and my love for the integrated arts and for film, and also speaks to my social activism within the Indigenous community in Canada.
So what are you most proud of if you take a look back over the last 16 years?
What am I most proud of? That is such a good question. I know I should say something about my children.
Okay, we'll take that as a given. Let's concentrate on the festival. What are you most proud of what you've been able to create through this festival?
I am very proud of the fact that we've been able to premiere some really fantastic debut filmmakers whose shorts we presented, like Anna Valine and Valerie Bahajar, and I mean there's so many, and watch them grow as filmmakers. So we've seen their shorts, we've had their screenplays as part of the script development program. Some have come back to us as fully produced feature films. So I'm very, very proud of that. I'm proud that we've kind of journeyed with a number of filmmakers across North America and also abroad, and nurtured, I feel in a way, sort of nurtured and encouraged their careers as filmmakers.
And the significance of being part of TIFF?
Well, that's really cool. So I had a meeting with Cameron Bailey back, I guess it was around Christmas time, And we were invited to, we had a meeting about the Female Eye, and I said, we're a nomadic film festival. We are tired of being nomadic and having to move around from all these different venues. And he said that he was going to have his team sort of look strategically at the festivals they're supporting, and came back to us and said the Female Eye Film Festival is something that TIFF should be supporting.
Absolutely, and that's awesome. Now, people you can learn more about the festival and get tickets on the website, which is femaleeyefilmfestival.com. And again, it's June 26th, starts this week, and to July 31st at the Carlton Cinema. Leslie Ann Coles, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Well, she said